What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Draft Yoda, where we're data-driven and prospect-focused. I am Bill Workman. I am the Draft Yoda. I'm your favorite draft nerd's favorite draft nerd. And today, we're talking about one of the most fascinating players in college football and one of the biggest transfer additions of the offseason. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about Texas wide receiver Cam Coleman. I've got Cam Coleman currently at a 9.44 out of a 10-point scale, making him the number 7 overall player in this class and my number 2 wide receiver behind Jeremiah Smith. And honestly, I think there's a real argument that people still haven't seen the best out of Cam Coleman, because before he became a Texas Longhorn, he spent 2 years carrying Auburn's passing game. And I don't know if he had a quarterback that was better than his high school quarterback throwing him the ball. Despite that, he produced. And that's one of the first things that jumps off the tape. Well, let's be real. The first thing that jumps off the tape is his size-speed combination. Long frame, outstanding catch radius, plus speed. The ability to eat up a cushion in a hurry. His deep ball ability is something that is going to make a lot of quarterbacks, especially the one he's playing with this year, very, very happy. That's where I think Cam Coleman separates himself from most receivers in college football, is his deep ball ability. A lot of people see a big receiver win downfield and assume it's because he's bigger than everyone else. And that's not the case with what I see with him. I see a player that understands leverage. He tracks the football naturally. He had a play his freshman year at Auburn. He had a play where he caught the ball because his eyes lulled the defensive back into thinking the ball wasn't coming to him, and he was able to look back and snap his body so fast that the DB just ran past him. That's a skill, and he's been doing it since he was a freshman. And that's the next thing that I love about him is his body control. You watch him along the sideline, you watch him adjust to off-target throws, which he had a lot of in Auburn. He had to learn how to do that, and he thrives in those difficult catching situations. And finally, I love the toughness. Auburn's passing game wasn't consistent at all, but you never heard a peep from Coleman. He just came out on the field and put out work and simply said, I'm here, I'm going to do whatever I can, and became the focal point that every defense that played Auburn focused on. One thing that I have been asked about evaluating receivers in particular is, can this guy carry an offense when things around him aren't perfect? And for Cam Coleman, we already know this answer. It's yes. It's a resounding yes. He carried Auburn's offense. Defenses knew that's where the ball was going. They double covered him, and he consistently won against double coverage. When SEC defensive coordinators are building game plans around stopping you, you know you're a talent. And I think that matters when it comes to Cam Coleman. I think that if it were not for the Adonis that is Jeremiah Smith coming out, Cam Coleman would be the number 1 wide receiver in this class. But he unfortunately is going to be compared against an absolute, science project of, Captain America 2.0 and Jeremiah Smith. Dude's a monster. But Cam Coleman isn't a slouch either. The environment he produced in is one of the most impressive things for me around Cam Coleman. It's not the touchdowns or the recruiting ranking, because he was a highly touted recruit coming out of high school. Auburn never found consistency in quarterback play. Passing game never really settled or thrived. And yet Coleman still became a player defensive worried about. And that tells me more than just a product of the system, that he's a difference maker. I don't think enough people have talked about how dangerous this situation has become, that he has moved to Texas, because in the first time in his career, he's not going to be the only player the defenses are worried about. For the first time in his career, he's got a quarterback in Arch Manning that can throw him the football consistently. Oh, and guess what? Ryan Wingo's on the other side. Oh, and guess what? Hollywood Smothers is in the backfield. You know, you can't double Cam Coleman as much as you've doubled him at Auburn. If you roll a safety over top to help with Cam Coleman, that leaves a whole lot of talent on the other side that you're praying is going to be able to cover one-on-one, man-to-man. Coleman's going to eat this season, because somebody is going to be left one-on-one. And if they ever screw around and leave Cam Coleman isolated one-on-one, Texas is going to make it a point of emphasis to hit that matchup every single time. But I've said it in every single one of these. There is no perfect 10. Nobody is perfect. Nobody. I'd like to see a little bit more short area separation and route detail underneath. I'd like to see a little bit more production after the catch as well, but I think a lot of the production after the catch has been because of the amount of coverage he's had on him. He's been double covered the majority of last season. He was double covered the majority of last season. And finally, ball security is something that he can, everybody can continue to improve on. There was once or twice, watching film, where that ball wasn't as high and tight as I would like it to be. But, when you've got a long, fluid, outstanding ball tracking, excellent contested catch ability, and a deep threat like Cam Coleman, you'll overlook some of the minor things, and you'll coach what you can coach out. He's going to make Arch Manning look better, and in turn, Arch Manning is going to make Cam Coleman look better. I want to be the first to ask the question, can Cam Coleman catch Jeremiah Smith? Right now, my answer is no. Jeremiah is a 9.84. He's darn near perfect. It's very hard to find flaws in him. Coleman sits at a 9.44. But, is it possible that they end up in the same tier? Yeah, it's really possible they end up in the same tier. If we're sitting in December and Coleman has, 1,400 yards from Arch, people aren't going to be crazy to have the conversation of, well, does Coleman fit our system better? Jeremiah Smith will be the number one wide receiver in this draft class. He will be the number one prospect in this draft class. He's just that big of a freak in nature. But your number two wide receiver in this class, Cam Coleman, is no slouch. The talent is real. The opportunity is real. And for the first time in his career, he finally has a supporting cast. Thank God he finally found a supporting cast. But that's Cam Coleman. He's a 9.44 out of 10. He's my number 7 overall prospect, number 2 wide receiver. one of the most physically gifted pass catchers in college football. He's a legitimate number one upside at the next level. And I honestly think his move to Texas, the best thing that's ever happened to his football career. Personally, I can't get over thinking that Cam Coleman in a Washington Commanders jersey would look really, really nice for all my Washington Commanders fans out there. But do you think Cam Coleman is a future first round pick? Do you think he can put up bigger numbers than Jeremiah Smith this season? Drop your comments below. Let's have a conversation. If you enjoy these player evaluations, built around film and analytics, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We're going to keep putting in the work. I'm Draft Yoda, Bill Workman. I'm your favorite draft nerd's favorite draft nerd, and we'll see you next time.